despise her. Me too. Suzumoto, Shinohara, Morishige, Miss Yui. As soon as I'm done with those four, I'm breaking this stone. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, make sure to break the other one though, too, while you're at it. As if he'd been waiting for this cue, Ishinuma pulled the other stone from his pocket. Inuma doesn't know what it's like in that school. I mean, she was actually getting excited about going there, so I helped myself when she wasn't looking. Ishinuma-kun. That's amazing, you're terrible. A serious business calls for serious action though. Shinozaki, I don't know how to say this, but exactly, but about the whole resurrection thing, the whole situation with Suzumoto and the others should probably just be left alone, don't you think? You've gone through so much already, and have come really close to dying, and I don't think any of them, not even Suzumoto or Miss Yui, Shinohara or Mushugi, would want that. But that might not be true. Damn it, Shinozaki, just stop. You know how much Satoshi Nakashima have been worrying about you. I'm sorry. Ishinuma, please, you have to understand. I just need a little more. I need you to humour me just for a little bit longer, okay? Please, let me do this. Sigh, fine, but listen, you're not doing it alone. I'm going to keep one of the stones. Okay. It'll be alright, you know. I turned my gaze up to meet Kushima's. My eyes must have looked like saucers, windows into the mind full of worries, ideas and fears. Spurred by this unexpected turn of events. If anything happens, don't hesitate to call me, okay? I'm here for you. I don't want you blindly rushing into dangerous situations like you did yesterday. I might not be able to offer much, but I'm confident I can at least protect you from harm. Ishinuma patted me in the head and reassuringly as he said this to me. And I had no idea how to react. I felt warm and safe, but also a little annoyed, much like a younger sister being simultaneously comforted and scolded by her bigger brother. All I could say in response was, okay. I could feel my eyes still bulging from my head. Opened as far as my eyelids would allow. I imagined how it must have appeared to Kishimura, and was momentarily embarrassed. Come on now, let's get you home. Okay. And I have free roam. Ready to head home? Not just yet, because why would you give me free roam otherwise? He's late, seriously, what is he thinking? That boy needs a boot to the head, I swear. Oh, she's knackered. For all the people, the streets seem unusually quiet. Is it just because of the late hour? Why the fuck would you give me free roam? What the? Running up these stairs with my assumes. At that time, I never dawned on me that the legitimacy of those memories could ever be called into question. Why would it? When you graduate, transfer, or get married, you're always still able to see one another as long as you're both alive. But in this reality, as if Suzumoto never even existed. It's giving me a wee bit to nothing overly major. Yeah, sure. Come on, let's go. I'm home. Welcome back. News of yet another bizarre death has just come in. This time, Mr. Okabe was discovered within the city at this location, having suffered a broken spine. The Tokyo map was displayed on the television screen, marked with two red dots. Mark Q at the bottom provided the headline, "Sudden violent deaths remain unexplained." Dinner will still be a while yet. Maybe you should take your bath first, Ayumi. Okay. Hey, don't just leave your socks on the floor. Ah, there we go. Without thinking, I'd left the socks I'd just removed from my feet on the living room floor and began walking toward the bathroom. Oi. Socks. Bad. Bad girl. This was a bad habit of mine, so ingrained within me that I had almost become a ritual. Mum did well to have caught it. So quickly I grabbed my socks and left the room. Can I really bring them all back? If I use the Book of the Shadows inside Heavenly Host this time, it just might work. Set my bag down in my room quickly and automatically grabbed my sweatpants and spats. I made a beeline for the bathroom. When I got there, I threw my socks in the hamper with purpose. I began peeling off my school uniform as I observed myself in the mirror. I began to murmur. Blowback. If I'm not careful, the same thing could happen again. Those burn marks on my neck and arms were eternal reminders of what I'd been through at the Shinozaki estate. I could clearly remember the agony I went through as if they'd formed. I remember watching them sear into my flesh out of thin air, blood spurting from them as if I'd been knifed. I only survived because Hinoi sacrificed herself in my place. I had to do it. I tried to force self-confidence into my expression. When it wouldn't come, I slapped my cheeks hard. It was in me somewhere. I just need to be yanked out into the open. You have to do your best, damn it. I lowered my head into the water ever so slightly, blowing bubbles in the water with my mouth. The pros and cons of returning to Heavenly Host were racing through my head. This is the power to change fate itself, to rewrite it. And I'm a Shinozaki. This is something only I can do. I have to show everyone that I can bring them back. If only I knew where the Book of Shadows... If only I knew where to find the Book of Shadows. I need to get my hands on it again. Huh. You're seriously going to look for the Book of Shadows? The lack of sense never ceases to amaze me. Ah, pervert! Wild pervert! This was just about the last thing I expected. I couldn't help but scream. The same boy who'd found his way into my room last time, wearing the exact same clothes, he spoke to me without once turning his head to look in my direction. So, you know about the Nirvana now? Finally pieced it all together and realised what you have to do. He smiled, still facing away from me. It was a confident yet sinister grin. Why? How? Hiding one's presence is about a basic spell as they come. No need for the blowing gasket. That's for why I'm here. It's to remind you of who you are. And what you have to do. The bloodline carries with it a certain responsibility, after all. You.
Huh?
Hmm? Everett! Stalker! Molester! I'm calling the cops. My face had to have been red as fire by this point. Shut the fuck up. Titless. Who you calling a pervert when you got the body of a grade schooler? Ain't nobody gonna want to see a washboard like that. But what? My head felt like it now housed all the blood from my entire body. I imagine myself white as a sheet below the neck, flashing red above it, on the verge of a megaton explosion. Just listen up. The Book of Shadows is back in the Nirvana. The Book of Shadows is back in the Nirvana. It happened when you messed up at Shinozaki Estate. Here. He handed me the photograph of Aiko. When did you? What are you trying to pull? Just look at it, you blind bitch. Here. Right the fuck here. Grabbed the photograph from his hands as aggressively as I could muster. And backed away slightly, putting as much distance between me and him as humanly possible. It was definitely the same picture of the little girl holding the hatchet that Aiko had shown us earlier. I now noticed that she was holding something in her other hand too. The hardbound book, about the size of a typical desk dictionary. And though I could barely make it out, there was a certain aura to it that looked an awful lot like a face. God, is it, if you want to use its power, you gotta get it to the... You gotta get... Fucking hell. If you want to use its power, you gotta go back to the Nirvana. Or should I say, back to Heavenly Host. Jump over there, get the book, and then maybe, just maybe, you can make your wish come true. He stuck out his hand and pointed directly at my face, and slowly lowered it down toward my abdomen. He was now inexplicably pointing at my lower body. As soon as I started to get self-conscious, he flipped his hand over and opened it, exposing his palm. There was another piece of 10-yen gum cup there, the same kind as before. I'm not sure why I took it, but I did, without even thinking. As soon as the exchange had been made, he immediately turned toward the bathroom window, apparently preparing to make his escape. Who are you? And why me? My questions seemed to stop him in his tracks. Aren't you going to explain all this? I wasn't about to drop my guard, especially given the obvious advantage this boy had over me. But he didn't seem like he'd come to attack me or anything, rather, it was almost like he was trying to lead me somewhere, to show me the way. Can't answer that just yet. He turned his head toward me just enough that I could catch a brief glimpse of his eyes beyond his hood. They were ice blue in colour, but gentle and sincere. He smiled once more as he leaped out of the bathroom window. I was kind of dumbfounded. I had no idea how to process what had just happened. What's wrong, Ayumi? Are you okay? Mum barged into the bathroom, brandishing a broom. It was probably the first thing she could find which fend off potential intruders. She hadn't been just a moment quicker. All I could do was squat on the cold bathroom floor and stare at her cold eyes. There was no way to adequately explain any of this to her. Sigh. It was late at night. I still hadn't bothered changing out in my school uniform. I needed food though. I decided to help the convenience store on my way home. I picked up a bottle of olives, a pack of tofu, and some mineral water, and other various things to keep me going for a while. The hell's this? I could hardly believe it. There was actually an occult section at the damned minimart. All kinds of stupid stuff like spirit talisman magnets and anti-demon wards. I grabbed one off the shelf at random and looked at it. The company logo in the back. PL Promotions Co. Inc. For these last 2 months since we got back from Heavenly Host, it seemed like there was a real spiritual boom going on all over the world. Whenever there was a strange death or something, the public would all be all over it, downright excited about the possibility that it might be supernatural in nature. It was all over TV shows and magazines too, with independent researchers checking out spiritual hotspots and giving fancy new age advice to people, just to boost ratings and sales. And now this, exorcism merchandise, next to pre-packaged cupcakes and ready-made dinners. Get your talismans at the corner store now, huh? Not too long ago I'd have made fun of all this crap. This is not such a laughing matter anymore though. Never thought I'd see a day when I'd pick up one of these things and wonder if it actually works. The item I was examining happened to be one of the spirit talisman magnets, seemingly the last one in stock. An old lady suddenly reached around me from behind and yanked it right out of my hands. Wow! She glowed. Oh, sorry guys. Got a frog in my throat. Not used to this much talking. She glowered at me for a moment before taking her prize over to the register. And I just stood there, staring blankly as she walked away. Still get a bit of a sore throat in that from being unwell, unfortunately, so it's a bit... We might finish playing this when I find a save point, because it's starting to hurt the throat. And I just stood there, staring blankly at her as she walked away. The hell? Thank you very much. The withered bouquet of flowers. Oh yeah, I heard there was a serial killer who'd recently done a middle school girl around here. These were probably left in memory of her or something. It's pretty messed up. Huh. Ooh. When we were playing earlier on, a wee bit ago, there was a lassie standing there. And she was waiting on a guy. I wonder if that was the spirit of the lassie that's the flowers there for. Maybe the girl sees the spirit, but also the guy only sees the flowers. Kishinuma. Shinozaki? What are you doing here this late? Oh, you went home. I did. Sorry to accuse you like this. You just got off work, didn't you? Yeah, I had the late shift today. Wait, don't tell me you've been waiting here for me this whole time. Have you? Man, I'm really sorry. No, it's fine. It was actually a really chilly night. I could see Shinazaki's breath dissipating around her chin and short, frequent bursts. Not fine at all, you're shivering. You can come in if you want. I'll get you some hot tea or something. Thanks. My room was on the second floor of the apartment building. I hadn't been expecting guests, but I had just tidied up for my own sake a little while back, so it was fairly presentable. Shinozaki immediately sat down in my bed and began sipping the tea I made for her. He was holding it in both hands, probably less for politeness and more just to warm them up. Sip. Nope. This is really good. Isn't it? It's from my sister. She sends me all the time. It is made from really good leaves. Sound of a large truck driving by seemed to catch her off guard. She was clearly a bit jittery. Unsurprising, all things considered.
Thank you for the host.
Lurk retweets, thank you for the host, buddies. Always appreciated. They do construction at this hour? Yeah, when it gets close to the end of the year, they do all kinds of pointless work out there. It's like every night. I've been sleeping like crap because of it. It's really annoying. Zip. Time passes by at snail's pace. Shinozaki continued to sip her tea, never once removing either hand from the warm cup. She definitely had something on her mind. Something had happened. It was written all over her face. Are you fighting with your parents or something? Huh? Oh, don't worry. They know I'm here. They do? Yeah. Shinozaki was in my room. I dreamed about this before, but never thought it would actually happen. Okay, but... I just kinda want to know, like, what you're doing here this late. Did something happen? You could say that. Seriously? You want to go back to Heavenly Halls right now? I was half acting. Admittedly, this wasn't entirely unexpected. Shinozaki may be a lot of things. Unpredictable is not among them. Please. You came here to get this stone from me. I took out the ever after stone I'd stolen from Aiko. Come on, Shinozaki, think about it. Yeah, the stone's got all so they probably can send you over. But what do you actually hope to accomplish once you get there? Or if you get stuck again and can't get out, you'll die. If you die over there, your existence will be erased. Over here, you'll be gone. I tried to be strong and commanding as I could possibly muster. I needed to realise what a bad idea this was. I don't care for Marist. I just want to save our friends. Save them? The grimoire, the Book of Shadows. I know where it is. That book you were talking about earlier? Yeah. Yeah, look. She had that photograph thing from Aiko with her. She She was pointing at the little girl's left arm.
私たち実は
He's
もうさっ
staring
き
at
見
us
え
in
て
the
いた
face
の
the
よ
whole time.
この
Look in
女
her
の子
hand.
左手
There.
のところそれが
That is the Book of Shadows. I didn't have to look at very hard to see it, but okay. So she's carrying a book, fine. But do you have any proof that it's the Book of Shadows?
でも
No.
多分間
I
違い
don't
な
think
い
it
と
could
思
be
う
anything else. You don't think?
天神賞へはね
We just
そ
have
の
to
本
go
を
to
取り戻
Heavenly
しに行
Host,
くの
get it
そ
back.
したら
Then we can save
みんな
everyone's
の
souls
魂
from
を涅槃
Nirvana.
から解き放てる
We can finally resurrect Suzumoto and the others. I could argue with that. There were so many assumptions being made. But she was so sure of herself, so certain that this would work. She wasn't about to listen to reason. Nizaki shook her head furiously, like some sort of violent shudder. It almost seemed like she was trying to shake something loose from her mind. Oh, and these rocks actually take us back to Heavenly Host. That girl, Aiko Niwa, was it? There was something just not quite right about her, don't you think?
それは
Well,
試し
we
てみ
won't
なきゃだけ
know
れど
that until we test them.
でももし
Now,
また天神賞に行けたらみんなの魂が
if
そ
they
こ
do
にあ
work,
るんだから
the souls of all
今
our
度こ
friends
そ
are on the
反抗の
line.
術が成功すると思うの
I believe we have a real chance of saving them. Shinozaki. She still had deep scars all along her arms, legs and neck. Anyone could tell at a glance that she'd just recovered from a serious accident. She sounded so self-assured, self-confident, but it was hard to take any of that seriously. This was the first time in my life I'd found myself tearing up over someone and not being embarrassed that I was crying. Honestly, it surprised even me how deeply I cared about her, Shinozaki, and how much I just didn't want to lose her. My eyes were getting hot and glazed. I felt utterly helpless. I can't talk about this with anyone else, but you trust me, Kishinuma, don't you? I was at a complete loss for words. I found myself literally scratching my head trying to come up with a good answer. Oh. Let's not update my software while we're playing a game. This was Shinozaki. She'd come to me for moral support, for encouragement, for peace of mind. It was really the first time she'd ever truly relied on me, ever truly counted on me. I knew then what I had to do. Damn it. You know what we went through in that piece of shit school? There's no telling what might be waiting for us over there. But if you're sure about this, we should do it. Honestly, I have no idea what the hell you're thinking. I promised you one thing, and I intend to deliver on that. What one thing? That I'd protect you, no matter what. Shinozaki and I stared at each other's eyes for a moment. Each of us trying to figure out the other. Don't worry, everything will be okay. Tried to force a smile. Shinozaki had basically curled up into a ball at this point. Her tiny body collapsed in on itself for support. But now, all of a sudden, she unfurled herself and glared at me. I couldn't tell if she was mad, or happy, or what. Her eyes were either like daggers or saucers. I couldn't really make out which. Maybe she'd come here expecting me to actively shoot down her ideas or something. Maybe she thought she'd be alone in this. Maybe she'd figured out what I was up to. Or maybe she'd been expecting me to say exactly what I'd said to her. And maybe it annoyed her. Either way, tears began to explode from her eyes, so quickly with red bags forming under them, almost instantly. Then turned her back to me, all with one seemingly unconscious spin of her body. Huh? Shinozaki, are you okay? During the day, you remember when you patted my head? She seemed like she was trying her hardest not to let herself cry, though it wasn't exactly working. Huh? I did? Yeah. Don't remember? She paused, seemingly waiting for me to answer. But I had no idea what to say. I absolutely didn't want to say the wrong thing, so I just stood there like a dolt. Never mind then, if you don't remember, that's fine. Finally she turned back to face me. Her tears mostly dry. Still a little self-conscious about crying though. She kept her eyes closed, a telltale frown belying her confidence. There was obviously something between the lines for me to read there. Hell if I knew what it was. Classic guy moment. Classic guy. If you don't tell me, then I don't know what you mean. Here. Huh? Oh, okay. Shinozaki removed a rafter stone from her pocket and placed it squarely in my hand. Positioned it next to my son and started intently at stared intently at the two. This was the turning point. What I did next could decide our fates. I couldn't mess this up. Outside my window, I could still hear the sound of construction vehicles driving by. There was never another. In as close to one solid motion as I could manage, I opened my window and chucked the two stones out into the road. I timed it perfectly, and my aim couldn't have been better. Another truck was about to pass, and the stones were immediately in its path. The sound I heard next was a satisfying crunch. It was the sound of delicate glass-like rocks breaking into tiny pieces. Shinozaki had rushed over the window and directly witnessed the fate of the ever after stones. As soon as the truck drove over them, she collapsed to her knees. Like I said, I'll protect you no matter what I have to. Yeah. Couldn't even finish my sentence before Shinozaki's palm slammed my face with incredible force. A loud smack of flesh on flesh echoed throughout the room. The side of my face was immediately in pain. I began rubbing it with my hand as I looked into Shinozaki's eyes. Her face was filled with tears and her nose running. She was breathing so heavily her shoulders were bobbing up and down. I never should have trusted you. Shinozaki, listen, I was wrong to believe you'd help me. Should have known better. She was absolutely hysterical with rage. You think I could just stand by and let you go back there? Back there? It was my turn to fire back now. I was certain I'd done the right thing. How do you even know for sure the book is there? And how did you intend to get back from the girl you got there? Only way without a plan would be certain death. I hate you. You're an ass, a delinquent, a worthless piece of shit. Bob. Leaving me with those hurtful words, Shinozaki then pushed past me and ran out of my room, crying like a child the whole way. I stood back up again, rubbing my cheek where I'd been slapped. Worthless piece of shit. Ow. Please, please God, where are you? Found them. They okay? Oh. But they were run over by a truck. Why would that matter? Those aren't just any old stones. You. Always gets in there. Ref is in your grasp now. Rested from the opposition. Now it's time to indulge in what you have won. Push forward and put that method to the test. You can make the jump now. There's so much more than those filthy peasants. And surpass them. You can interject your own will into the fabric of this world. Are you on my side then? I'm miles ahead of this trash. Huh? Who the hell? The guy I passed in front of Shinozaki's place. They're still intact? Damn it. Shinozaki, give them to me. No! Has to stop. You can't go over there. How many times do you think you can cheat death before death wins? No! Hand them over, damn it! No! Super powerful punch! Bad dog. Ayumi, you asked if I was on your side. I am. I'm your guardian. I was Hinoui's, your sister's protege. I owe a lot to her. My name is Mitsuyo Kiria of the Kagura Society. You are my sisters? Good girl. You remember the chant to unlock the powers, don't you? Then let's get started. Let me see those stones.
俺にしっかり捕まってろ
Hold
よ
on tight to me. And here.
あと
Good
ほら
luck charm. Don't lose it. That is a very strange cube with something. Argus cube. Inazaki, don't go. Don't.
ごめん
I'm sorry. You don't need to worry about me anymore.
篠崎
Inazaki. Aha. You
お
should
前
live
は
the life of a
正しく
peasant.
パンピー
It's
の
only fitting.
やめて
Stop.
涅槃よ
Nirvana. I summon the dead.
マジかよ
This can't be
篠
happening.
崎
Inazaki. Inazaki. Damn it.
なんだ
Why?
よ
God damn it. Hmm. Where am I? The stench.
匂い
It's heaviness.
天神書だ
Heavenly
What?
host. Huh?
ミストさん
Misuto,
どこ
where are you? Gasp.
幸せの石
Ever afterstones. They're gone.
どうしよ
What do I do
う
now?
あれはミストさんが
Misuto must still have them.
そんな
But
あ
without
の
them,
石がないと
without those stones, I can't get back. Misuto,
私
I'm all in the school again. God. No,
そんなこと
can't
ない
stop
よ
panicking. He's here
きっと
somewhere.
どこかで
I'll
合
find
流で
him.
きるわ
This is just how it happened last time too. Ah! Yeah. Huh? Huh? No one is coming to save you. Die, kill, die, 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 die. You should just die, 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 die. Curse, hate. Like a pomegranate.
お前ザクロ
Head so full of juice.
いらっしゃいませ
Welcome. No! I'm using my phone as a light. It wasn't as dark last time. Ah! Fuck you, clock. There wasn't a clock like that in here last time either. Guess things really are different now. Oh, Misuto isn't too far gone. Don't even know his phone number. Actually, I should leave a message for him. Misuto, Dayumi, please call me. Good enough, I think. Now let's see if I can find him anywhere.